Hey, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Chris. I am with the legendary Jim McCormick. How are you, Jim?
Yeah, go Birds.
Go Birds. We are in the dead period between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl, and we therefore are making a show for you because I feel like there's a lot to talk about coming out of championship weekend, but we're not really going to do picks so much this week. We're going to have a big Super Bowl pick the game, pick some props, teasers, whatever, all next week. As far as the lines and things like that, at this point, you know, Jim, when a Super Bowl is like, as of our recording this, 1.5 points, I don't think it's going to get higher than 3 on either side. At some point, from the picking perspective, when we do make our official picks next week, you're mostly picking a winner, right?
You are, yeah, exactly. And they don't. I got the line at +1 on Tuesday night. Like, on Super Bowl night. It was +1 Eagles.
Oh wow,
rather. So,
but I mean, again, who cares? Like, there's a small.
It was two. No, what I mean is it was. I figured it was a pick.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's small chance it lands on one. Small chance, the game total. If it lands on one, we have a great Super Bowl ahead of us, which would be fun for me, and you would be in agony most likely.
Yeah.
So we're gonna skip analysis of what's to come. That's for next week. Instead, we're gonna start out at least talking about what has happened, and we're billing this as a controversial weekend, and it's two games that didn't particularly live up to much. I guess that's not fair. The second game does live up to something. It's just annoying. The thing that it lived up to was bothersome. I'll say somewhat controversial, but for different reasons. The 49ers go to Philadelphia and. Okay, I mean, the biggest story is the quarterback and Brock Purdy. This is probably the best career move Brock Purdy ever made, tearing a UCL, right? I mean, like, he doesn't get exposed. He gets to go into, he needs surgery. That stinks. But his defenders who believe he's for real forever, they never got the veil pulled from their eyes, right?
Yeah, I mean, even Trey Lance was like, really, buddy? Really? Like, come on. Where's our narrative? But yeah, the open competition thing. I loved. Denny Carter had a great joke. He was like, Kyle Shanahan's going to be telling us Jimmy Garoppolo is not in the plans until 2027, like every year.
Well, so, I believe it.
It's. I think Michael Strahan. I hate to say it, but Michael Strahan captured the idea is that the Niners entered the season without knowing who their quarterback was really, like meaning not knowing what they had at quarterback. And I know they got injuries, but they never really.
Well, I mean, they didn't really know about Trey Lance, but they believe in Trey Lance. I think when you're the number 3 pick in the draft, and he's flashed okay at times, and has the kind of athletic potential that if he were to harness the other gifts, he's obviously a much preferred option to Brock Purdy if he harnesses the other gifts. But that is the question, and now we're 2 years in, and we still don't know. So that's not really a controversy. That's just too bad because we didn't really get to see a good game. Kyle Shanahan in a big game once again. Do we think that the Niners have a problem when it comes to Kyle Shanahan? He is essentially a de facto general manager. He's the one acquiring talent. He's John Lynch is there, but Shanahan has final say on just about everything, and it's kind of like a one-man management show. And I really admire the fact that he's great at a lot of it because he's assembled an incredible team, and the drafting is fantastic, and whatever free agents they sign, really, really great job. And then it all comes together when he's playing a team that doesn't stink, in a big spot. All I've seen is himself like make pretty big mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gets tight. I mean, I think he keeps his brim flat, like the Steve Buscemi "Hey Kids" thing a little bit, because he actually coaches like with the conservative nature of a reluctant nature. Like, he grew up in rooms with his dad. He grew up, I guess, in that power. I don't know. His philosophy is not modern in terms of what we're doing.
Really?
He has some of the worst in terms of his timeout usage. Like, the win, like in terms of your ability to like control certain things, like his fourth down.
I mean,
tolerance,
I guess
really bad.
I took what you said as.
You mean game planning? I mean, like,
yeah, I took what you said as like you think it's conservative. His game plans are too conservative, and I don't think that's true at all.
I think he's brilliant. No, I think he's brilliant. I'm saying I think what I'm trying to say is his only Achilles, I think, so far has been He's gotten very deep. Like the nerds, and I kind of don't like that he doesn't go for it enough. He's not aggressive enough.
All right. I really don't think that's what came up on Sunday. He didn't challenge Devontae Smith's catch. I mean, this is only.
But that's kind of what I'm saying.
Okay.
That was conservative.
Okay.
No?
I mean, I'm trying to make a specific point about a game, and my feeling is there's only one moment where, well, there's two moments. There's two moments in that game where I feel like Kyle Shanahan once again, if all of what you just said amounted to him being quote unquote too conservative, I don't really understand how that jibes with a not conservative offense at all. I think maybe I'm just putting a different name on it, but feels like he just kind of loses his bleep. Like he just kind of doesn't keep it together.
I meant like Andy Reid's kind of issue where he's a brilliant guy, but then sometimes his in the moment philosophies can get in his way. Also, like there's a certain hubris of having Tyler Kroft block Hassan Reddick on the 6th down of the game.
That's a fair point too. But that's a weakness of the system. And Sean McVay has shown that weakness at times too. Like, well, let's get too crazy, let's get too wide open, and now our tackle is blocking an interior lineman. I mean, the two things that I'm thinking about from Sunday are not challenging Devontae Smith's catch, which on a 4th down is completely indefensible because the kid,
and he's doing this. He's doing the hurry up move.
Yeah, the kid is getting up saying, "I probably didn't catch it." You don't even have to challenge it. Just call a timeout, dude. It's the first half.
It also was the first drive of the game. It wasn't like Devontae Smith was worried about the clock.
No.
I mean, when a guy gets up.
It's clear what he was worried about, and I don't know if Shanahan doesn't have a game person up in the box to go, "Hey, dude, he's clacking his fists together." And then the other thing that I will mention is at the end of the first half, where it's 14-7, I think, and there's a minute and a half left. I don't actually have the exact time available, but
it was the last.
It was the last drive of the first half, and I don't know. I think at that point you kind of count yourself lucky that you're only 7 points down and you go in a half, and instead he hurries. And Josh Johnson just fumbles a snap, and the game is fully out of hand. I feel like that's an easy thing to second guess, but I was first guessing it in the moment. Like, why are you hurrying?
I was too
with Josh Johnson. Yeah.
I said why? Like, I would have just taken. I would have ran 3 times, run the clock, and the Eagles would have allowed that to happen too. Like he created, and he looked. They obviously were trying to get back on the board,
right?
And
showing faith in a player that probably didn't deserve faith. Again, feel. I think maybe everything that we're arguing about semantics, when in fact we're just talking about him not having a great feel. Let's move.
Yeah, I think he's a great coach. Yeah.
Is getting feel something a coach can acquire over the course of a career? He's not a kid.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, whenever Andy Reid has won, they're like, he figured it out. But then there's also, so like, what I mean is he's brought in specific game management help.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that. I mean, like you said, he has so much influence over all these decisions that he needs somebody to at least take on some of this. Like, come on, buddy.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he's not in any danger of not being there. He's great. He's assembled an incredible team. Like, if they'd had the quarterback that they thought they had, think they win the Super Bowl this year. It's a great team.
It's incredible that he took that team as far as it did with what happened to his quarterbacks.
Okay. I mean, I would argue maybe it's not that incredible because the team is that good, and also they go for it. They go for it by trading for McCaffrey. Like, I love it. Okay. Well, so anyway, Kyle Shanahan, I mean, he could only have done so much, and as it turned out, if Josh Johnson was going to get concussed and then Brock Purdy was going to come in with a torn ligament in his elbow, they probably weren't going to win anyway. So I'll get off Shanahan a little bit. This is bad luck. This is a lot of bad luck.
It was terrible fortune, yeah.
All right, so then the second game, we both had the Eagles, and we gave the points, and we felt like we didn't really get the game we were promised. I didn't get like comeuppance for this notion that Brock Purdy is going to be the next great thing, but that can wait, I suppose. The second game, exciting, not particularly well played, and marred by a fourth quarter that you would characterize how?
I used to call them the bong hit Colts, but now it's the bong hit refs. So those refs were out of. What was it with that one? I'm not ageist, but what was it with that one grandpa rep who seemed like he was confused the whole time? I'm sorry.
Grandpa.
That guy, his hat was weird. It wasn't on his head. Like, it was weird.
I mean, he's actually it's really crazy that you say that because his actual name is Grandpa Ref. That's actually Ref is. I mean, that's his name. It's a Slovenian name. And
it's Refe. Yeah.
I mean, it's not a conspiracy. I don't think. I mean, I don't have any way to prove it. If anything, the conspiracy is
incompetence.
If anything, the conspiracy is home teams get way too many calls, right? And I think probably we saw that in both games on Sunday. But
Eagles too, yeah.
I don't think it's a matter of a ref being corrupt or the league wanting Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And I know it's so tempting to say that. And as you're fond of saying, the Bengals fans tend to believe that pretty easily.
Right. I mean, look, they're from the Chiquita Banana. There's a whole story about them. Look up Cincinnati conspiracies. Don't worry about it. So.
I'm all right. Wikipedia right after we finish this.
Why is Chiquita Banana Company based in Cincinnati? That makes no sense. So I just
all right. Just send all your banana fan theories to Jim McCormick.
Yep.
At _Jim McCormick. Like, if you had to pick the worst call of that fourth quarter, which would it be?
The create a down, just like extra down, like let's redo it, like that's because there was other things that upset me, but you watch more football than I, but I've watched a lot of football in my life, and I was like, I haven't seen this one before. So
I mean,
I probably have.
We've seen it where some back judge is looking at the play clock, and as it turns out, the play clock is wrong, and he wants to blow it dead, and no one's paying attention to him because he's Grandpa Ref. Although I don't think that was Grandpa Ref on that play.
No. But they blame the Grandpa Ref by proxy by just showing him look like he was like. So.
Wait, could you give us that to who was it again?
He's constantly searching for his keys. So
all right, So my least favorite was the intentional grounding to Samaje Perine.
Okay, yeah.
When Patrick Mahomes had done exactly the same thing about 5 minutes before.
Oh yeah,
and
right.
And that's just not a call that gets made in a regular season game, let alone the fourth quarter, the last half of the fourth quarter. When we all know Burrow was just trying to get rid of it. The back is standing next to the offensive lineman that the ball was near. It's just you can't make that call. Now, on fourth down, they got a completion to Jamar Chase, right? So, what I would contend for Bengals conspiracy theorists is, okay, the world's against you, buddy, but every time you got a bad call, you actually did something great, and the bad calls weren't why you lost. Right. Why you lost was a good call. Nobody loves to see what promised to be maybe not a greatly played overtime, but it would have been a fun overtime. Nobody wants to see it end on that hit out of bounds, but I don't know how you don't call it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You have to. I mean, there was when he's 3 feet into the paint, it's just like, sorry, buddy.
I mean, we all know it. I mean, and then there's the Zapruder film but there's holding on that exact play, and then I say, that sucks. I mean, and there's holding on every play in every play. I mean, the block of the back on the punt, there's a block in the back on every single punt. Good luck. The
Niners probably false started on that Josh Johnson fumble, but I mean, they didn't call the false start, so it's a fumble.
And the blocked punt, wasn't the guy blocked into the punter? Wasn't he?
Yes, he was thrown. Jordan Mason was ejected.
So, do you leave these two games feeling like you learned anything? I don't feel like I didn't learn a ton about Philly, and in fact, their strength of schedule continues to be one of the worst for a Super Bowl participant ever. And they actually get high marks for the strength of schedule against the Niners when in fact they didn't actually play the Niners. And then, I mean, Patrick Mahomes second to last scene, dropping back and doing something like literal Grandpa Ref would do, just dropping the ball behind his head for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you came out of these games learning all that much?
No, and like you said, that game felt like a scramble. Everybody was just they just got told they had to show up for work. That's kind of the whole vibe of that game, right? There's a lot of patchwork feel to that game because Mahomes the numbers looked really good at the end, but the whole game felt like he was just fighting through every moment physically. And Barrow just felt like it was chaos. So
when it was 13-3 Chiefs, I felt like it was getting out of hand because I came on this show last week and said, I know the Bengals are going to score. I know the Bengals are going to score. And you were much more right about that. Chris Jones lining up all over the place was a menace. The offensive line, which had been bad all year, was bad again. Wasn't bad against Buffalo for some reason, but just is bad. And I don't think it's the backups. I think it's just bad. They played badly. But more than anything, you and I on my podcast, if people want to find it, harrisfootball.com, we talked about things the Bills maybe didn't do great against the Bengals and why Sean McDermott I had some questions about. And part of that was
they kind of sat back.
A lot of zone. And boy, I'll tell you what, Steve Spags didn't do that. He's
going to send stuff. He's a Jimmy Johnson guy. Like, he's going to send stuff.
Not only did he send stuff, he definitely did, but they got plenty of pressure with 4 and played man.
Right.
And trusted their guys to win against
those young corners. Yeah.
To win against some good players. I feel like, man, they finally started at the very end. The way they came back from 13-3 was, okay, Chase is doubled. We don't care. Like, we're just going to throw it to Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And
and Snead was out, right? So,
and that double team to T. Higgins for the touchdown. Like, it's a brilliant throw. It's a wonderful catch. It's not exactly the way you draw it up with 2 guys hanging all over him, but I will say I really admired Kansas City's game plan. I think if I came out of either game with anything, it's more respect for Kansas City's defense.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Spags and I think the Mahomes kind of whole era, they're just, you don't pay attention to that defense very often. And also they felt like they were aging out. They were, but then they've actually had 2 good classes now in a row. So that can change things pretty quickly. McDuffie is like really starting. Whereas the Bills didn't play. They took the number 1 corner, right? Kamir Elam. He barely played for the Bills this year. So what I mean is, like, one team's getting starting snaps the whole year. That's a difference.
All I'm hearing out of you is building up the Chiefs, because you're worried about them in the Super Bowl. But we'll get to that next.
Well, I mean, Andy Reid.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll get to that. Let's thank DraftKings because they've sponsored this show all year long, all the way going back to September when we first started doing this weekly thing that I hope a lot of you like. Usually we're picking a lot of games, and we certainly will be picking lots of stuff on DraftKings once we get to next week. If you're getting ready, the one we would love it if you're interested in playing the game, playing Super Bowl. Please do it with DraftKings because that's how this show happens. Download the DraftKings app. Please sign up using the code HarrisTube, and if you do, the first time you make a $5 bet, you'll instantly have $200 in bonus bets that are put right into your account. You don't have to win that bet. It just happens right away, and you'll have $200 to play around with on the Super Bowl and do all sorts of goofy things that we'll endorse next week with parlays and teasers and actually pick the game and the total and all that stuff. We really do thank DraftKings for continuing to sponsor, and if you're looking for a way to say thanks to Dave Piper for producing this show and for us doing it, the best way you could honestly do it is support the sponsor, because that might mean we do a show again next year. Just when you sign up on DraftKings, please do use the code HarrisTube, and we thank you. So okay, that was last weekend, and I feel like we'll get to what the implications are for the Chiefs and Eagles in the Super Bowl. It is, as you say, the Andy Reid Bowl, and I think Andy Reid has cleared his name. A lot of bad things were said about Reid during the Eagles years when they kept
for sure,
reaching national NFC title games and not getting to Super Bowls and then getting there once and losing and all that stuff. He has certainly cleared his name. And my savvy transition is to some other coaching news that we'll just kind of hit on. It's not so much handicapping stuff, but just kind of, we're going to be talking about this stuff, a couple of pretty major moves. Really the one I want to talk about most of all is Sean Payton finally getting traded, I guess, sold, whatever it is. The Saints get a swap of a first and a second round pick, and they give them up to the Broncos. You and I started to have kind of a long conversation about this before we started recording. The best way for me to get at the heart of the issue, I think, in my opinion, you can disagree with me if you want, the heart of this issue is Sean Payton, Russell Wilson. Can we make this work? And when we were talking before is, yes, but they've given Payton a contract that goes well beyond whether Wilson has to be there or not, and I agree with you. But I don't think that coach gets hired at that price in terms of real dollars and draft picks,
draft capital,
unless they were legitimately trying to have Payton rescue Russell Wilson from this past year being terrible, and also the last couple of years in Seattle at least producing some doubts. So I'm going to frame this question this way. I'm going to choose to believe that you agree with what I just said, and instead talk about how qualified Payton is to do the job with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I think he is qualified in the sense that he's worked with a lot of different versions of that. The Saints era with Breeze was very long, and he kind of turned over the roster and sustained different waves of free agents. He survived, but he went through several different eras of skill players and defenses. I think he's just been there from the start to the finish of building a team. I think he's really good. Kevin James played in a movie, which is ridiculous. Like just and they didn't even pretend that they look nothing alike. It was really cool.
Their hair is kind of the same.
And like
color,
he literally was just maybe, yeah. And either way, I think he does. I think there is a value to the coaches that we. I don't know if you can verifiably say he is that, but if there's enough data, like not enough data, but enough of a track record of building up good rosters over and over. Like there were times when even 10 years ago, people thought the Saints cap hell and all that stuff. We know the cap's fake.
Yet,
but he kept getting new waves of players.
You've still not really answered the question though, which is Russell Wilson.
But I guess I think he's few coaches I think are worth that investment, and few coaches are like really actually good. I think he's one of them.
Still not really an answer to the question. Russell Wilson.
I thought your question is Sean Payton. Okay.
Is Sean Payton the guy for Russell Wilson? Like, I would probably contend, yes, that Payton probably numbers among the coaches that I would trust, because it feels to me like, how could Wilson have lost the ability to play football? He's not old by NFL quarterback standards. He wasn't injured in any sort of major way that we know about. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't imagine this is a total collapse of physical skills. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. I don't think we can know direct answers to anything that we're talking about without the benefit of time. Clearly, if we are going to proceed, and I think the Broncos have to proceed on the assumption that what's wrong is between the ears, right? That it's not a physical problem. Maybe he's not quite the guy he was. Maybe he doesn't run quite as well as he used to, but he still runs fine. He ran fine during the year. Like, I just don't, I don't think it's a physical problem. And so I'm kind of go back to the sentence that I started but didn't finish. If there's a small subset of coaches that I think could handle the project, which is to get Russell Wilson's cranium dislodged from his posterior, I think Payton does fit on that list of coaches. And I got to say, most of the people that they could have hired in this coaching cycle probably would not rise to that level for me.
Right. And it's that's in a way, that's also kind of what I'm saying with not the longevity of the contract, but his position, meaning like he's a Shanahan type where he's going to come in and have so much power.
Sure.
Not to say that makes Russ fall in line. What I'm saying is I think he actually has been the kind of coach that can elevate certain things, meaning he can make some of this stuff work that like you're saying, like that another coach wouldn't be able to figure out. Maybe how do we figure out like how to make more out of Sutton because we hate him or this, and he's done that before. He's made weird players, but like Marcus Colston was probably going to be a great player anyway. But like I just feel like he's optimized players before. Is what I mean.
Sure,
like,
and
that's Andy Reid's reputation too. Like he's made people money.
I'm going to blame somebody other than Wilson for last year for Broncos fans. I don't want to, because I think Wilson bears a ton of responsibility. We have no idea what goes on behind closed doors. We don't know how committed Wilson was, et cetera, et cetera. There could be all sorts of interpersonal problems here that he's not working as hard as his reputation. That's gone away. He's more concerned with Instagram, whatever. I don't know any of that. If we're going to shelve that and see if that winds up being a factor later and just talk about the fit with him and then Nathaniel Hackett, West Coast, Aaron Rodgers, tight window, sort of timing plays, hero ball. Like, can't believe he fit it into that corner. Like, we can probably agree that was never Wilson's strength, right?
No, he was like literally like, if he ever threw it long, he needed to have Tyler Lockett 100 yards open. That's how that worked.
But also part of that was his magic in the pocket. I mean, let's not have a revisionist history on Russell Wilson. He was a monster.
He extended plays and he was amazing. Yeah, he was so fun.
And so
no, he was a playmaker. It's just that what was lost is the question. That's like you're saying. What happened? That's his question. Right. What happened?
And I don't want to absolve Wilson. This could just turn out to be the players cooked or not as committed, and no coach is going to come in with a different offensive scheme and change things. But I'll tell you, with Payton, it's going to be a different offensive scheme. The Drew Brees accuracy thing is one thing, but I don't think Payton's play calling necessarily requires Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees, hyper accurate throwers. Right. I think you can get away from that and have Wilson be let Russ cook, as they have always said, but now they're saying it in a different context, and actually have more success. Now, all those years in Seattle, Darrell Bevell, weren't we told They don't throw enough. They aren't putting enough on Wilson's plate. It's all running. And
he was a restrictor. He was a restrictor
right.
plate.
And maybe it turns out now that that's actually what they need. Javonte Williams comes back and they establish a better running game, although metrics people don't like that. And Wilson gets to be more the sauce rather than the meal, as it were. And the big plays come, but they don't necessarily need to come with tons of volume, and it doesn't need to be a full pass first offense. I give it a chance. I think the Payton hire is directly. I know your point is no, he's the coach of the Broncos for a long time. He will outlast Wilson no matter what. And okay, I agree with that. Right. I still think the investment that you make here is because you are trying to fix Russell Wilson and you believe it can happen. And I have some optimism that it will.
You don't have to, but it's not a sunk cost fallacy. But it's also, I think, like you're saying, there's no verifiable proof that it's over. So to punt on it would also be terrible. To bring in, I don't know, like some random defensive coach to see if just go fully, like to bring Vic Fangio back kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like that wouldn't have solved it either. So yeah, I agree. Don't give up on Russell Wilson. I'm just saying I feel that they also accomplished both kind of, which is hard to do. Meaning they stabilized kind of what felt very unstable. We'll see if that's true, but it feels better.
Yeah, we can't know any of this stuff. It's like making judgments on quarterbacks in their first or second year. We can say what we see, but they change so much, and we'll see. And so yeah, I like the hire obviously a lot. Last little thing, it's not going to affect the NFL ever again, I don't think, unless he comes back again. But I wear the footy pajamas. I am a Patriots fan. Tom Brady has to be now my favorite athlete of all time. I can't think of anybody else that I rooted for longer and felt better about and just trusted would kill people in the end. And, just 20 years of fun, frankly, turned me into a Buccaneers fan for a few years. You're coming at it from not a Boston perspective. What's your feeling about Brady?
Yeah, I was jealous for a long time that another team had that sustainability at a sport that doesn't do this. So it kind of created. It's like a myth come true. It's kind of like watching the LeBron thing because it happens for so long that you remember. I remember LeBron's high school games. They're kind of around the same time that the Patriots started getting good. It's like, wow, I'm old, but also they were there. They were there for me throughout the whole tapestry of the sport, and he contributed to the story of every era. They always say the Hall of Famers, can you tell the story? You can't tell any story without Tom Brady being involved in it. And then he's just anything I've also read about him, the obsession was real, but it was earnest. He really was just that guy. It wasn't for show, obviously, when he did it this long.
He's a weird dude, probably.
He's super weird, but he's obsessive, and there's this kind of thing sometimes to it where he's jumping on Oprah's couch, but at the same time,
he's a murderer.
It's cool. He's got 80 for Brady, and I'm not talking about I'm not going to talk about the Super Bowl, but Andy Reid, for example, on a much lower level. A lot of people in Philadelphia still love him because we were a really bad franchise for a very long time. And he brought us 15 years of stability, and it helped usher in kind of a new level of, I don't know, standards for our ownership or whoever it did. But he changed the culture of football in our city. So much different, but a 15-year run of success is always cool. So. Yeah,
that must be really nice to have had that Eagles success over these 15 years. That's really must have been great.
Yeah. Great for you. We did get at least one Brady. We at least did. We did beat Brady once. And I do have to say, if the Eagles were to win, to beat Brady and Reed and Belichick and Brady and Mahomes would be a pretty cool little.
Must be amazing for you. I can't even imagine it.
What's it like that? I'll tell you how it feels to have multiple Super Bowls. Okay. So it's over.
Yeah. He's just I get that people hate him, and I get that people hate LeBron. You know, I get that people hated Gretzky, whatever. But that's the you can have a
when it's yours.
You can have a bar argument about who's greatest and all that stuff across sports and stuff like that. Probably not a definitive answer. And I as an announcer, I don't think he's gonna be that good. Well, first of all, I'm sure he's very guarded as a person. Have you ever seen him in media really let loose and everything's scripted? Everything's, his Instagram posts feel like they're kind of,
I have only 4 facts about the guy. He doesn't eat strawberries. It's pretty limited range.
And when you ask for his opinion, you get a very when I say political, I mean politically correct. I mean, like, he just doesn't want to say anything bad about anybody. In the past, that's always been about not trying to give ammunition to another team or some nonsense like that. I'm trying to imagine him saying anything bad about anybody. Maybe he will.
Vague sports. Ultimate vague sports answer.
Yeah. And then also just the greats don't do this. Like, the truly great ones don't come down off of Mount Olympus and announce week 4 Panthers Seahawks. Right. Just it feels like he's going to get bored. We're going to get bored with him. Like, LeBron's not going to do that. Like, Wayne Gretzky wasn't an announcer. Like, I just feel like the truly, truly best. Peyton Manning did. He's not the best. Like, he's really, really great. Like,
they weren't like, let's go over to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the sideline. You know what I mean?
Right.
No, Kareem's not here.
Yeah. Bill Russell never did that. There's some. Jordan never did that. There's something that's like, don't sully.
I'm not going to cross that line. I'm not media. Yeah.
You're immortal. You don't need to be talking about.
Yeah.
You don't need to be talking about, like, whatever, Cowboys, Panthers, week 4. All these Brady announcing gigs are all week 4, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. So whatever. I mean, he weird dude. I certainly enjoyed being on the side that rooted for him. I think people who hate Brady have every right to hate him. You're hating him because he won. I mean, that's, like, another thing I will say before we go here is maybe the biggest service that Tom Brady did to anybody in the last 3 years is prove that the Patriot way, that they just were smarter about everything and knew how to draft and knew how to manage a salary cap, and all cutting players was so smart. All that stuff was all nonsense, because as soon as he left, all the same things didn't work anymore. I sort of thank him greatly. And Belichick's a great game day coach, but a lot of the other stuff doesn't do great. And it seems like part of the mythology to me, Jim. Like, this whole idea that they saved so much money because Brady took below market deals, it feels like more Patriot way BS. I just think they didn't spend extra money. They kept cutting guys. Logan Mankins isn't on the team. Like, they I don't know.
You didn't get the postcard, though, because Red Sox, Patriots fans don't get the conspiracy note cards to talk about you guys. Like, so
I think, though, what I'm saying, I guess, in the end, is that these 3 years, all the supposed salary cap stuff they didn't work. All the smart free agent signings didn't work. Hi, Cam Newton. All the drafting didn't really work. Name the huge contributors from these past drafts. My point is that some of that story goes away. And sure, are there always going to be Homer Patriot fans that just say, yeah, Belichick just knows what he's doing. Yeah, like, there's always going to be those people, but I feel like there's a lot fewer of them than there were 3 years ago. And for that, Tom Brady, I say thank you. So that's going to do it. That's going to do it for this show. A little current events, a little past events, and then we are going to get together again next week for our grand finale of the season, and we will give you, we promise, all Super Bowl handicapping stuff. Jim will be here to pick everything Chief. I'm positive he's going to have a complete run of all Chief coming out on top type props and stuff like that. And we will see you then. So for Dave, who's producing his little heart out, and for Jim, who you can follow on Twitter @_Jimmy McCormick, I am Chris. Thank you very much for watching all year and today, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button, write a comment, tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on, and of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button, and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.